Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Guribharadhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Guribharadhari Yashodanandana Raja Janarandana Yashodanandana Raja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Gopi Janna Vallabha Guribharadhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Guribharadhari Yashodanandana Raja Janarandana Yashodanandana Raja Janarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe Jaya. Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe Jaya. Nitya Sachinandana Gaura Hare 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 Jaya. Panchatattva Jaya, 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 Panchatattva Jaya. Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Jaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, texts number 12 and 13. So I'm reading two texts today, 12 and 13, and tomorrow Tulsi Priya Prabhu will take over on number 14. So, I'll just read the Sanskrit. Tarye Veda Muni Shrestha Pandava Panchasa Laikan Atmano Bhimukan Diptan Alakshatan Upadata. I should put on my glasses because I can't see very well. Okay. Tarhi. Then. Eva. Also. Ata. Therefore. Muni Shrestha. O chief amongst the Munis. Pandava. All the sons of Pandu. Pancha. 5. Sayakan. Weapons. Atmana. Ourselves. Abhimukan. Towards. Diptan. Glaring. Alaksha. Seeing it. Astrani. Weapons. Upadaru. Took up. Translation. O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Shaunika, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons. And the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Brahmastras are finer than the nuclear weapons. Ashvatam discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir, and their only grandson who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, the Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not as blind as the atomic bombs. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocents. And text 13. Vyasanam vikshatatesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena shvastrena svanam raksham vyadhad vibhu. And it's the word for word. Vyasanam, great danger. Viksha, having observed. Tat, that. Tesham, there. Ananya, no other. Vishaya, means. Atmanam, thus inclined. Sudarshanena, by the wheel of Sri Krishna. Svaastrena, by the weapon. Svanam, of his own devotees. Raksham, protection. Vyadhat, did it. Vibhu, the Almighty. And a translation and purport again. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshan disc to protect them. Purport. The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Ashvatam, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Ashvatam released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Shri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Here the word ananya, vishayatmanam, is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashvatam, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still, according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the vow. He is better known as the Bhaktavatsala, or the lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhaktavatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. Amagina timirandasya jana jana shalakaya chakshuran meitaman ena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam yena bhutale svayam rupa kadamayam dadati svapadanti kam Namo Vishtubhadaya Krishna Mistayam Tale Shmari Satrutasko Swami Tinamane Namo Vishtubhadaya Krishna Mistayam Tale Shmari Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvashesha Shanivadi Paschita Deshatarini. Hare Krishna. So we are at a particularly dramatic point in the whole story. Actually, if you were writing an epic movie, this would be absolutely, the music would be going very loudly, and all sorts of sound effects would be going on, and visual effects would be going on. Brahmastra's just released, and then suddenly this beautiful woman is running and running and running towards Sri Krishna, who is almighty on his chariot, and pardon. To be continued, yeah, she's it's a very, very powerful scene, and so what's going to happen is we can tell like that Krishna is just about to make the most completely go against all that he has said that he would do in the up till now. He's just going to break his vow. So it is a particularly dramatic moment, and the whole of the Mahabharata is a bit like that in that sense, because it's all about very dramatic scenes, the gambling match, the lac fire, it's completely absorbing. I mean, everyone has always told me, oh yes, Hollywood should make a blockbuster movie, but it would go on forever and ever, like it, if it did, practically speaking. But anyway, they probably wouldn't have all the money for the sound effects and all the extras and everything. It would be quite a major undertaking. So, but anyway, but still, you'd have the film houses full. The movies or the Netflix or whatever it is, people would be getting this movie all the time. But in one sense, that's what the Mahabharata is like. It is there for a specific reason. It's to attract people into the whole epic which is going on, and we notice that smack bang in the middle of the Mahabharata is what? Is the Bhagavad Gita, So we can see that all the sound effects and all the great stories, actually they're there really in the ultimate issue, to bring people to start to hear from the Bhagavad Gita and to hear what Krishna has to say, because this is the most important part of the whole of the Mahabharata, and it is only 25 minutes or so, but still it is 700 odd verses. And so we can get some idea of also what is going on here. This is the Bhagavatam, of course, and these are the extra sections that the Bhagavatam is taking, and so we're getting so much information from that. But we notice also one of the other reasons why the Mahabharata is there is so that the people can be taught morality as well. They can be taught how to act. So many different sections are about the great warriors, how they behave, what is the duty, Draupadi, how does she act? She is a role model for all ladies, for everybody basically as well. And also Arjuna and Yudhishthir, how he's such a moralist, how everything he does is correct, and everybody listens to him, and he's Dharmaraj and everything like that. So in that sense, also a secondary aspect of the Mahabharata is that it actually brings people into it so that people can learn how to behave. It is a very clever way of doing that, obviously, as we can see. Vyasadeva has written it in that way, and just like Valmiki has written the Ramayana, again we get that understanding of how we should act. These scriptures are there for that reason. So we have the Bhagavad Gita right in the center of the Mahabharata, which is teaching people how to act. The 4 varnas, you could say, the 4 ashrams, they're all there. We're taught how we should behave as human beings on this planet. But then again, the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, or the purport, are right smack bang in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, or at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, should we say. The conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is sarva dharma parityajam mamikam sharanam vrajam. So it at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, it's saying, give up all dharma, give all that this is all meant to do, all is training you how to be proper behavior, proper ways in which you should live. Krishna is saying, give up all of this and just surrender unto me. So therefore, right then in the middle of all of the Mahabharata, in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, or sorry, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, the purport of the Bhagavad Gita is that we should surrender unto Krishna. Uh, so this is very, 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 very interesting, very important. We notice that even if we do behave very morally, say for instance, if we live like the Pandavas and so on, well, what will happen? Will we get tested like the Pandavas? The answer is yes, because it is maybe not to the degree of the Pandavas, but we will be tested. Because again, this is part of the teaching, this is part of the learning, and this is what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Matra sparshas tukantya satoshna sukata kuda. It's like happiness and distress, fame or infamy, honor or dishonor. This is what this world is about. It is not about us becoming a great moralist, to be admired by everybody. Oh, he was such a nice person. The obituaries. I remember one devotee was writing was looking for inspiration and writing, and then he saw this whole section called obituaries, and they were obituaries of all people who died in New York City on the 23rd of September on 1989 or something. It was a great poet who wrote it, and he went through all the people, and each person was so interesting, because you could see this person was born in 1846, or sorry, I forget the dates anyway, 1912 or whatever it was. And they lived at such and such, and they were at this and they were at that, and they were loved by everybody. So there's this whole thing about how we lived our life and so on. And it seemed like these were all great people. But Shrana Evahi Kevalam, they're absolutely useless if they don't actually develop love for Krishna. So this is what this verse is saying also in Sarvadharma Parityajya, is that we actually surrender unto Krishna. We can be so many great things, but unless we actually surrender unto Krishna, it is all a waste of time. And so all of this, the Mahabharata has this other aspect to it as well. We look at just a few days ago, we celebrated Balaram's birthday, and but Lord Balaram, he was into Duryodhana. During the fight that was going on between Duryodhana and Bhima, Duryodhana was kind of on the side of Balaram was on the side of Duryodhana, or at least he had a lot of affection for Duryodhana. In fact, he wanted to marry Subhadra to Duryodhana. So Krishna is there as well. He wants to get Arjuna to marry Subhadra. So there's so much that goes on in this world that we're trying to live a proper life, and some people think we're an absolute cad, and some people think that you're a wonderful person, So no matter what you do, you seem to actually attract various depictions about yourself. And not only do you attract depictions about yourself, but your mind concocts all these depictions about yourself, about who you want to appear to be to others, even though it's not actually who you are. So you've got all these complications going on, and the world. No wonder it's a mess, because of all these things which are going on in the mind, from the subtle to the gross, and. So we're trying to somehow or other learn how to act in this world, and that's why the devotee's life is very, very important. And even if we can't save the world, let's see, can we save ourselves? Starting off at number one, preaching to everybody. Okay, yeah, but start with number one. Try to preach to ourselves. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy, and all the contortions of the mind. We're trying to get rid of all of those things, and but Krishna is giving us an actual elevator to do that, is to surrender unto Him. So how do we surrender unto Krishna? Then we perform devotional service. We hear, we serve the Mahats, the great devotees, and we associate with the devotees as well. So these things are there for us to actually to try to live in a proper way in this world. So this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, and it is given throughout the scriptures. So, as I was saying, if we're in this world, it's not unusual, like if we take the example of the Mahabharata, that there's so many things going on. And so look at Bhishma. He's a great, look, we should follow Bhishma. So if Draupadi's been disrobed, should we allow that to happen? Or should we get up and say something? You know, and yet at the end we all go to Bhishma, and even Krishna goes and listens to him. So there is many different things going on. So Krishna says that we should just surrender unto him. We should learn how to surrender unto him. And what happens if we surrender unto him? He will protect us from all sinful activities. So does that mean that then that's it? We're clear. We're in the clear. No, because we know that there's a process of doing it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Dasyam, Atmanivedanam. And there is different stages as well. Shadow, Bhajana Kriya, Nartana, Vritishat, and Sadhu, sorry, I forgot. And then there's steadiness, there's Ruchi, there's Ashakti, then there's Bhava, and then there's Prema. So we are trying to get on the ladder there, and we can actually tell where we are on the ladder quite a bit, you know, a lot of the time, or we can associate with devotees, which will allow us to understand that. We understand that when we're hearing and we're talking about Krishna and the association of the devotees, it's like the temperature, the barometer goes way up there, you know. We go quite powerfully there on the barometer, okay, we might come back down again, but we try to perform devotional service as much as we can, because Krishna says that that's how we will actually remember him. That's how we will get in contact with him, and that's how we will surrender unto him. So all of those activities, the morality and the thing, we should practice, but ultimately we should surrender unto Krishna. And sorry, just taking the Bhagavad Gita here. I'm making this point because Prabhupada is so positive for us to go back to the spiritual world. He wants us to go there. We may even see or think ourselves very, very lowly, which we are. But Krishna says that he will remove all sin. You know, I will protect you from all sinful reaction, because we're loading down, we're heavy laden with sinful activity, and it's preventing us from getting to the heights, from escaping, from leaving this mortal situation, the material coil, or the mortal coil, as Shakespeare would call it. We're trying to go back to the spiritual realm, but we're being dragged back down again by the shackles of the material world. Sex life, for example. And even it says in the Bhagavad Gita, it says 7:28, Tesham Twantukatam Pamam. I never get these right once I start to talk to them. Te Dwanda Vinir Makta. Anyway, I know where it is. Even if I can't recite it, I know where it is. O Arjuna, Tesham Twantukatam Pam Janam Punya Karmanam, Te Dvanva Mohanir Mukta, Bhajanti Mantra Davita. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. So it says there, Krishna says they have to be freed. But then, this is Krishna's concession again, and he goes to 1865, and he says, it doesn't matter, just surrender unto me, and I will abandon all varieties of religion, and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, and then what to speak? I won't even come to Lord Chaitanya, how he acts. He's even more liberal. But so, there's the whole Mahabharata, and there's all the examples of how we should live. But then in the middle of the Mahabharata, there's the Bhagavad Gita. And then the main verse in the Bhagavad Gita is abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. And Krishna will protect us. So that's quite amazing. So, and then Krishna explains about how we should serve. Manmanama vamabat bhakto majaji mam namaskaru mameva shasi satyam te pratijani payosi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So we're in a very tiny position where we should realize this. But Krishna says that we must try to become pure. In fact, Prabhupada keeps on speaking about that. And that's what all the different stages of devotional service are about. They're helping us become purified gradually. And then Krishna will from within, will give us the understanding by which to come to him, will give us the knowledge by which to perform devotional service. And in that way, then we become purified. At the very beginning of this, the most confidential part, this is the purport of 1865, the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna and always think of him and act for him. So, as I said, not only is this the kernel, the middle of everything, these verses, but then Prabhupada even further says, so we should take our Guru very seriously what he's saying. He's saying we should become a pure devotee. There's no excuses, no as, ifs, or buts, as my father used to say. We should become a pure devotee. So don't think of anything else. There's no need to think of anything else. The instruction is simple. We should become a pure devotee. We don't have to, elaborately think of millions and millions and millions of different things. We just have to take that instruction. We should become a pure devotee. Now, we may be miles away from that, but that doesn't say that we shouldn't keep that as our goal. Because as Prabhupada would say, is the unripe mango in the mango. It's still a mango. So that is the strength that we have to take. We've got this far. We found out. We've got to the most confidential part of knowledge. That's what Prabhupada calls it here. We've got there. So now let's just start to execute it bit by bit. Gradually, we should traverse the path. One should not become an official meditator. Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. So now he's given us this instruction. We should mold our life in such a way that we'll always think of Krishna. I mean, look at what Prabhupada has given us. He's given us the whole deity program. He set up temples so that we can actually learn how to actually live with Krishna in the center. This is the two rungs of the Bhagavat Marg and the Pancharatrika Marg. In that sense, the two rails on which the train moves. So Krishna is explaining to us how we should live. We should have the temple in our home as well, and we should serve the deity that way too. But we should make sure that it's spread into many homes. We should try to make sure that as a lot of people will do this if they can come to the temple, and then we should have a beautiful temple so that people can come there. And then they can enter into the program of thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day. They should take their breaks, their holidays, and go to places, to temples, and they should immerse themselves in the philosophy and in the practice of devotional service. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way that throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in the association of Krishna face to face. So there you go, folks. You're in association with Krishna face to face. There's no doubt about it. Krishna is telling us that we're going to be in front of Krishna face to face. We just have to continue with what we're doing. We don't have to elaborate on it. We don't have to get into our head about it. We just have to arrange our life in such a way that we're thinking of Krishna all the time. Therefore, we will be in front of Krishna face to face. So we're trying to get the merciful glance of Krishna. So that's why we come to the temple. We come to the temple to get the merciful glance of Krishna. It's not that like darshan means that we're going to see Krishna. We get darshan. We see Krishna. No, we're going to in front of Krishna so that Krishna sees us. That we're there so that Krishna can see us. And then we may get the merciful glance of Krishna. We're trying to get the merciful glance of Krishna and Radharani, or of Gaur-Nitai, or Panchatattva. That's our goal. That's what we do. This merciful glance, one devotee was explaining recently, Vaisheshika Prabhu was explaining, it was a senior godbrother of his was telling him this actually, and he was saying that I think about 1970, this godbrother got on the whole wave of devotees going to India with Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted so many devotees to go, so he went over to India in 1970, and he started to do the different services, and there was about, I think there was 30, 40 devotees there, but and he was there when Prabhupada was giving talks and so on. He was even in when Prabhupada was giving the darshans, but he said that Prabhupada, he never got really Prabhupada to give him this merciful look or this glance or to recognition or whatever. And we know how powerful a glance of a pure devotee is. We know the glance of the Mahavishnu, when he glances over the material energy. That's just a glance, and suddenly the whole material world springs into, the whole universe is spring into being. So the merciful glance is very important. So he was trying to get Prabhupada's glance, but he was even put the chandan on Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would just be there, and he'd be putting the chandan on. And still he never really felt that Prabhupada really recognized him. And then one time he had to go to South India during this time, and he went down with a bunch of devotees, and they were doing a whole lot of preaching programs down in South India. But suddenly this was all picked up by the local media, and then it was in the newspapers. I think it got into the front page of these Western sadhus who were quoting verses from the Bhagavad Gita, and they were spreading the Sanatana Dharma, and it was in the front pages and so on. And then a little while later, he went back and was in Prabhupada's presence again. So Prabhupada was looking over, smiling, and because he recognized the devotee, because the devotee was doing this amazing service, you know. Now this devotee, of course, was only kind of new to the movement or whatever, you know, a year or two in the movement. We recognize now how that is, you know, after being so many years, that, you know, at the beginning it's not, you know, of course these devotees were in the association of Prabhupada, we were special, no doubt about that. But still, they got Prabhupada's merciful glance, and it was very, very powerful. And it's sometimes Prabhupada would give that example that, you know, a simple farm worker. He gave the example of who working in the farm in the Midwest in America or something, and then there would be the battle, and then he would go to war, and then he would save some people who were about to be killed, and he would perform some great valorous act. And then it would be picked up by the government, and then he would go and he would get this great medal from the president, and he'd be recognized and he'd be famous and so on. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada said that's one way to attract the attention of Krishna, is to give out the mercy of to give out Krishna's mercy, and that way one will be quickly, Prabhupada would use that word, recognized. Of course, anybody who's in touch with the Krishna consciousness movement is in that whole preaching sphere, and we're all trying together to spread this movement, whatever way we're doing it. You know, we're all using different implements and different pens, or, you know, keyboards, or shovels, or, you know, driving here, or, you know, buying boga, or building, or, you know, there's all the different ways in which we're doing it, but we're all working together. So and this is all recognized by Krishna. And to steadily do it over time, not to do it one time and then resign, and then you have to do this, and then, oh no, I'm not doing this anymore. You know, steadily do your service. You know, and through thick and thin, keep doing your service, and that way there will be a kind of consistency there, steadiness. Prabhupada would sometimes say, steady is big. You know. So it's something that we're doing. I remember one time, actually, even the merciful glance, how powerful it is. One time, actually, when I was only there, I think it was in the first 6 months in the movement. I wasn't even, I was just visiting. And anyway, I became a bit discouraged one time, and my spiritual master was there. And I remember it was a class, and no one was recognized me. I was just this crazy guy in the background, and I said, if somebody doesn't recognize me, I'm going, you know. I actually said that in my mind. And next minute, my spiritual master looked over at me, you know, somehow or other. And that was enough, you know, that was enough to actually keep me going then afterwards, you know. So So it's quite powerful to perform devotional service and to be recognized by Krishna. But as I said, we can see Krishna face to face. As insignificant and as tiny as we are, we can still be recognized by Krishna, and we should always have that hope. This most confidential part of knowledge is spoken to Arjuna because he is a very dear friend of Krishna. Everyone who follows the path of Arjuna can become a dear friend to Krishna and attain the same perfection as Arjuna. These words stress that one should concentrate his mind upon Krishna, the very form with two hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. I love this verse that Prabhupada talks about this purport, just in case there's any confusion about it or if there's any doubt. This is what he says. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. One should fix his mind on this original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. The Lord has multi-forms as Vishnu, Narayan, Rama, Varaha, etc., but a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is disclosed to Arjuna because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. So that's the reality, just in case we're in any doubt. And how do you do that as well? Of course, you do that by chanting Hare Krishna. By Krishna is non-different than his name, especially in this Kali Yuga. Krishna is appearing in his holy name, and by chanting the holy name on japa, on beads, and congregationally, then one is pleasing to Krishna, and Krishna is appearing, and Krishna is personally appearing when there's this congregational chanting is going on, and this is why these days are very powerful, like Lord Balaram's appearance day and Lord Nityananda's appearance day and Janmastami and Radhastami and Lord Nityananda's appearance day, Gorpurnim, should I say, and on the other important days, because there's a special power, there's a special potency there that Krishna actually, breaks all kind of norms, as he's done here with when Maharaj Pariksit is about to be killed. He breaks the norms, and he actually comes and he actually saves his devotee. He breaks his word even because he's back to Vatsala. And so if we're doing things which are pleasing to Srila Prabhupada breaks the norms. Prabhupada will come at us at the point of death and will save us, He'll break the norms because we're doing what as we're doing a service. We may even be so madly entangled in the material world, but if we just perform some little act of devotional service, then Nihabra Kamona Shosti, that will save us from the most dangerous type of fear. So this is the great confidential secret that is there in the middle of Mahabharata, in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, or should I say the end of the Bhagavad Gita. And then in that then we have Prabhupada's purports, which are very powerfully presented here, and Prabhupada is giving us that insight into how we should act, in this world. And it starts off real practical. And this whole process is so practical, but we have to make some groundwork in there. We somehow have to get more people involved. We need to get more people involved. I was going to give another little section here, but the time is gone. A section I'm reading at the moment, but I'm reading at the moment about how we should try to spread this Krishna consciousness movement far and wide, but also. Prabhupada is explaining about the whole Varnashram system and how the Brahminical culture is there, so it can actually give instruction to the next class of people, so that they can actually implement this spiritual science. So what we can do is, I think everybody remembers that video of Prabhu in his immortal words. When he talked about Harinam and book distribution, he says, "Don't think you're more clever than Lord Chaitanya. Don't think you're more intelligent than Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said the process for the age of chanting congregationally, spreading Krishna consciousness, wherever you can, in whatever way you can, spreading so many books going out even now at the moment. And we're very fortunate. We had a couple of Harinams recently in Dublin, and we also had in Innisrath, in Enniskillen, and the mercy that's there is quite incredible. I remember I was on Saturday going out. I was actually feeling a little ill from my stomach and so on. But the minute we started chanting, suddenly completely forgot, and this whole energy takes over of chanting Hare Krishna, and becomes the most blissful thing, and then sometimes when the kirtan is going full steam, people are just amazed that they see. Like at the end of several people at the end came over and started taking books, wanted to know what this is about. One guy came up at the end and said to me, "This book is coming into my life in the last 2 years, and now I see it here physically in front of me." I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And it was an easy sell actually. So he took the Bhagavad Gita and gave. I should have asked for a higher donation actually, but anyway, not to worry. He gave a reasonable donation, and so it's 2 years he was looking, and there we were on the street, and we had the book. So he's gone off with the book, and I try to get him to look in the back to see where they are, to keep in touch with us basically, and many people came over. Like, I'm not saying that they were all queuing up or anything like that. It's not that easy, because people are quite absorbed in their particular thing. But I love that situation when you have some pretty sharp book distributors. My dear wife is very good at that. She kind of angles people out and goes over, and they usually end up with a book at the end of it. I'm going to post something on Facebook very shortly with one conquest, but it's very nice when it's like that, because the kirtan is going on, the devotees are absorbed in the kirtan, and then there's people actually going on distributing the books. It's a great combination. I mean, I just think it's a fantastic combination. I mean, there's other ways we can distribute as well, but I'm just saying that's a particularly powerful one. And when the amplification is good, and Auntie Natalia was making this point that, if it's important to you, then you'll make sure that it's an important sound that's going to people as well. You'll do it to the best of your ability. And so also, as I just wanted to finish here, at this particular confidential part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says two interesting things. He says, "This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me." But then he said, Prabhupada in the purport a little bit says in 71, he says, "But it so happens that sometimes a devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such persons hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated." So the devotees, they will go and they will give people the chance to hear. Actually, again on Saturday, two completely, they looked quite like disciples of Jagai and Madai, and they came up, but they were actually quite nice. They were very appreciative of what we were doing, and one person explained that they had they came from a family of 14 children, and he had also so many children himself, and he had just got out of jail, and because he had to steal to try to keep the family going. But they were just there, and they were saying, "This is wonderful, this is great." So, you might have so many millionaires who might walk past us, but yet this very impoverished person takes Lord Chaitanya's mercy and is appreciating, and Krishna is appreciating. So, there's so many things are going on at that point. Karma is being altered. The whole situation for many people has been changed. So we're out there, we're performing this yogya, this sacrifice. We're also doing it online. I'm not trying to, there's so many ways in which we can do it. But the sacrifice is going on. And okay, we may not be getting millions of results. They may not be happening all the time. Someone rang me up yesterday from India. His daughter is a devotee. His daughter is going to Galway University, and asked me, "Is there any devotees in Galway who can put her up?" Because he doesn't want her, understandably enough, staying in the university halls where any type of madness will go on there. He wants to be with devotees, and of course, there wasn't so many people in Galway. Rajendra Maharani were there in doing the Govindas, and there's, but they don't have a place where somebody can stay. And Sonia is there, and Ina is there as well, but they're living outside Galway, so it's not as if there's a huge amount of people you can call for. He's from India, and he's thinking, oh yes, there's millions of devotees, but it got me thinking. I remember back in 82, 83, Prabhu would actually talk to the devotees about devotees opening up centres in Sligo and Galway and Cork and so on. And someone asked me the same question about Cork, and I couldn't really give a huge amount of people that they could take shelter in, or there's a program going on. One lady came over. She's a devotee. She came from United Arab Emirates, and she's a nurse there now. But I just said, well, and I can't even ask her to come to Dublin because of the COVID thing that's going on. But it's not as if there isn't any people to preach to or any work to be done. There's a huge amount of work to be done, so that this message is available for people in general. And but Krishna says that, and this is the confidential part of knowledge, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. So that's again, Prabhupada, the confidential. We'll see Krishna face to face. And Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama bhavita nachama tasmat anya priyavataro bhuvi. Priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. So the process is there. It's set up for us. We should always have a very, very positive view that Krishna is going to take us back and is going to bring us and set us up in the spiritual world. If we're studious, Madhurya Kandambini is there. We know the stages of devotional service. We can see how we can get to the various stages, and we can go there. So the road map is there. It's very clear. It's going to happen. The Prabhupada in his instructions is there. It's very clear. It's going to happen. It could happen today. We don't know if today is the day in which Krishna actually removes all our anarthas and brings us to the spiritual dimension, the spiritual. And even if he doesn't, the next day might be, or the next day, or the next day. So we should just be in no doubt about it. We're going to go there. It's inevitable, and whatever progress that we make today is maybe just the next step on the path. But Prabhupada is obviously it's inevitable. If it's inevitable, if we surrender unto Krishna, or if we follow the instruction of Srila Prabhupada as he set out, that's when it is inevitable, and we do it with all our heart, soul, mind. We have to completely put everything into it. Our faith will be increased, and we'll notice that as we go up the different stages, anartha nivritti, as we go up the different stages, the faith will become stronger, and we will be endeavouring with greater faith and with greater confidence. And day by day, we'll be endeavouring with greater faith and with greater confidence. And Krishna will be reciprocating us in that way. And by associating with the devotees, we'll discuss these topics among ourselves, and then Krishna will bring us into that state, as I said, in a state where there's no envy. When you're actually hearing in the association of devotees, there's no envy there, and we're on a very elevated stage, and when we're hearing in the association with devotees, so that strength will be there, and that faith will be there, and we will actually be experiencing it tangibly. Okay, I'm going to stop there, have faith. I'm not sure if there's any questions, but thank you for listening. I'm back on Facebook again today, I think. And so...
Just a comment.
just we have one comment.
Gulnara.
Gulnara
writes, thank you for an inspirational story on book distribution, Prabhu, and for your practical statements regarding devotional service.
So practical statements in devotional service, yeah. Yeah, we kind of have to bring it down to the here and now, into our situation and how we're getting there. You know, on one level, we're definitely insignificant, and we have to humbly endeavor. We have to realize our situation in relation to Krishna. It's so important to do that. You know, Trinada Pisa Nichana Toror Pisa Ishna Manina Manadina Kirtania Siddhari. And on the other hand, though, we have to endeavor, you know, with confidence, and not only with confidence, but we should have a good time. We should have fun in spiritual life, because that's what spiritual life is about. And, you know, Prabhupada instructed our managers to do things which are fun, you know, to always be giving new challenges to the devotees. Because if we don't get our fun in devotional service, we'll try to get it elsewhere. And Maya is expert in creating all sorts of diversions to the mind, can give limitless amount of so-called pleasures or distractions. So devotional service has to be fun. Nice prasadam, nice association. Our good friend Parshuram, of course, he has loads of fun. He's always laughing. Always laughing. If you just ring a para, before you talk to him, he's laughing. And because he's having lots of fun, he's giving out thousands of plates every day to all millions of different people. He's meeting loads and millions of people. He's relating to so many people, and he's such a great example. And so in our situations, wherever we're situated, you know, if on Govinda people coming, we should go out of our way to try to help them and make them comfortable and give them Krishna consciousness. We're going out and doing some Harinam, book distribution, whatever, same thing. But if we're contacting people online, you know, the most important thing though is, well, not maybe the most important thing, but a very important thing is that we should enjoy what we're doing, and we should be getting a taste from what we're doing. So that's why I was saying, Gulnara, about that point. And we introduced giving out lollipops the last time, and it's even so much crazy seeing all the kids coming over. There was a group of 3 kids went by. It was about 5 years, 4 years, and 3 years old, something like that. The 5-year one looked around and just grabbed one. Then the 4-year-old one saw that and grabbed another, and then they walked on. And then the next minute, the 4-year-old one came back, or so the 5-year one came back, and she had the lollipop in her hand. I thought her mother had told her to put it back. No, but she grabbed another one for the 3-year-old and went back. So they're all having little pastimes around the Sankirtan movement, you know. And so that, you know, and then afterwards we had prasadam in the restaurant, and then we listened to the pastimes of Krishna. You know, this is we have to make this, you know, the dull brains of the materialists. We have to, and ourselves, our own dull brains, we have to inject them with the joys of Krishna consciousness, because that is what it is. We're talking about the spiritual world, and that's where there is eternal happiness in the spiritual world, and that's what we're aspiring for in this world. Atashi Krishna Namadina Bhavedgriyam Indriyai Seva Mukhi Jivado Swayameva Paratidaha. Krishna will reveal to us the spiritual world even while we're in this material world, and that starts with the tongue, through chanting and hearing and tasting prasadam. So we have to try to enact the spiritual world while here in the material world. We have to obviously, you know, get there first of all. But by following the instructions of Prabhupada, it can be easily done, and we're becoming more attracted to spirit than we are to matter. So the stage of asakti is a bit like that. Whereas at the moment, we're attracted to news of the village or gossip or any of that other stuff. You know, immediately the head goes up, the ears go, what? Did she say this about that? Or what is she saying about that? What is he saying about that? You know, this is the gossip and so on. Or even we look into the, you know, whether it is somebody's into opera, somebody's into drama, somebody's into sport, somebody's into politics, somebody's into, it goes on and on. Any of the amount of distractions that are there. But we want to hear about the spiritual world, and this is a great time around these festivals. We hear about Lord Balaram, the amazing activities that he's performing, or about Krishna in a week's time, and about Radharani. So this is what we absorb ourselves in, and believe it or not, we will become absorbed in it. We will become absorbed in those pastimes, and that's where we come to that Shakti stage where we're more attracted to that, and to come back out of that and to come into the material world. That's the problem. We find that a difficulty, not the other way around. So we just keep practicing now, and keep on putting it into practice, as Prabhu has said, very practical ways. There's practical activity in the foreground of spiritual life. We do exciting things for Krishna. We take on amazing, interesting projects for Krishna. Why not? The materials are doing it. They're claiming the material world for their senses. We should claim it for Krishna. So we should be bold in our preaching to Krishna, for Krishna. We should be bold. We should take over the government, take over the newspapers, take it over. Okay, maybe that's probably a little bit further down the road. But we should be bold in our attempts. At least we should try. If we fail, so what? That's what the whole of that book about by Shyama is about, chasing rhinos, That was what Prabhupada was doing. Because Krishna, as I said in a previous class, he can expand the influence of the devotee. Krishna is expanding, he's in everybody's heart. So why wouldn't he expand the influence of the devotee if he wants to? If he wants to, he'll do it. So just take a chance, take a risk for Krishna. Take a risk and see what happens. See, can we do it? There's nothing wrong with it. And it makes that's in my opinion anyway, in my little angle of vision, that's what makes devotional service interesting and exciting. And it beats the mundane, It means I don't have to, just not do anything. But in other devotees, I was just going to talk about brahmanas. It's they're attaining these higher states of Krishna consciousness by seeing Krishna within, and then they're preaching, they're breaking through all the difficulties in spiritual life of lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, envy. They're more concentrated on that, and therefore they can actually give advice to the other people who are doing the more active services. So it's like we're all working together. And then the person who are doing the active services, they can implement the vision of the devotees who've taken the time to study the Shastra, because it does take study. We know that to study the Shastra means concentration and living one's life in an exemplary way. So therefore, we're working together in this, so we can take that information from the devotees and learn. Some devotees who cannot do all of that serious sadhana, then their sadhana will be implementing the instructions of the sadhana, of instrumenting the instructions of those who perform serious sadhana. So it all works in that way. Okay, I'll stop there. There's nothing else, is there?
No.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki